Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond the Studio, the place where planning doesn't stop at submissions, juries, or sleepless nights before deadlines, but begins after that. This is a space where we try to find out what really happens on ground in cities, policies, messy realities, and sometimes in Excel sheets that don't happen open at 3 a.m. Now, if you are an M-Plan student, you know we spend hours of crafting well-structured land use plans and then step into the real world where things tend to evolve in much more dynamic and unexpected ways. So today we thought, why not talk to someone who has actually seen both the worlds, the studio version of planning and the real chaos of the planning. And for that, we have someone who honestly doesn't need much introduction, and I'll try anyway. And I promise I'll keep it shorter than a development plan report. So today we have Professor Jignesh Mehta, a senior consultant and team leader at Center for Urban Planning and Policy with over 23 years of experience in urban planning and and not just in India but across the globe. He worked in cities like Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Washington DC, basically places where we usually once can either go for case studies or either we can see in Netflix. So, and then he came back to India, which is like slightly complicated what we see as in. So from preparing development plans for ORDA to working on transit oriented development for his systems like Los Angeles Metro and California high speed rail to projects in Bhutan and Dubai, his work spans from large scale regional planning to a very detailed urban planning interventions. So basically if there is a scale in planning, he has worked on all of it. So, while we struggle to align north in our maps, he has aligned entire cities. So, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you.
And so, on behalf of the studio, we thank you that you are here with us. You actually chose this initiative with starting with us in this program.
So, thank you for having me, and thank you for this warm and kind introduction. It's always great to be with students. And it's very good that you guys are doing this because I think it's going to go not only, it's not going to remain only on campus, but it's going to go far beyond. Yeah. And that's probably a very good thing because we need more people to know about planning. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, sir. So we'll be starting with our questions. So my first question goes is, so when you step outside academic or professional spaces, how do you explain the role of an urban planner in a way that connects with people's everyday lives?
So, urban planning is actually all about connecting with people. Okay, urban planning is not really about sitting in a room and designing cities. Okay. So, urban planning is where you really need to understand how people live, where people work, where do they entertain, yes, where do they eat, where do they shop, where do they walk. How do they actually meet each other and also conduct their entire lives. Okay, so now this is where unless you really understand people, how they work, how they behave, where they live, it's impossible to plan a city. Okay. So the whole idea is that we need to go outside our studios. We need to go and meet with people, understand them, and then we also need to talk to them and say that what are their aspirations, because planning is not only about solving the issues or solving the current problems, but planning is also about future and envisioning the cities for future. So it's not about problem solving, it's also about envisioning the future.
Okay, in terms of that, I would like to add that if a civil engineer comes, he said that I upgraded flyovers, I gave engineering intellects in the city, we upgraded the technology. A policeman comes, he said we maintain law and order, we upgrade in that. How does an urban planner introduces himself to the normal society people, like what you do, what we do for the layman people?
So a lot of times, a lot of people ask, so what do the planners do? Okay. One analogy that you can give is that, just the way, what do the doctors do? Now, doctors will identify an issue in the body and give a solution in form of medicine. So that is one way to think about it, is that for planners, the cities are what you focus on. Cities are where you identify that if there are any issues, let's try and solve them. Okay. But as I said, so it's not only about problem solving. So we need to also go beyond being doctors for the city.
Okay.
And also think about the overall well-being, not only for today, but also for future. So that that same patient, if it is all fully well, the city, if it is all fully well doing, still how can that be improved for future generation? And now this is where we also have to think about the new technologies that might be coming. Or this is where we may need to think about the sustainability aspects and say that how can we improve our environment for our future generation.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to the second question. So, planning education is full of ideal solutions, but how much of what you learned works in real cities? When did you first feel that this won't work on ground?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Actually, I don't think we should distinguish between the ideal solution and the real cities. Okay.
We generally do in case studies.
In planning, your ideal solution is something that will be implementable. Okay. So ideal solution is where if the solution is working, then it's an ideal solution. Otherwise, it will just remain on paper. Okay. So now this is where a planner would typically think about not only what is the ideal solution, but what is also an implementable solution. And this is where, in terms of implementation, you need to think about multiple time frames. So something which is implementable in short term, something which is implementable in mid-term, something which is implementable and effective for long term. And that's how your solutions, planning solutions, will have to be thought about. And there are a lot of nuances we can talk about it, but that probably will take much longer conversation.
Okay. So, can you recall a time when perspective outside planning shaped better outcomes than a planning solution? Like any of the example of the cities what you have worked?
Oh, I think all the time, because a lot of times you as planner think of something, but then when you start talking to people, they will have all types of ideas and all types of creative things.
Whom do you think are more creative, the planners or the people?
I think people are the most creative. Okay, because they are not coming from this very academic approach, and they are thinking on their feet. They are thinking about the reality, and they are thinking that what would work for them. Now that may not be really an ideal solution. What they might think may work for one person. So if you talk to a pedestrian, the regular person will think about himself or herself. If you talk to a shop owner, he might complain about certain things from his perspective or her perspective, right? And then ultimately you have to collect all those perspectives. All of them will give you a set of solutions. You have to put all of them together, and then see that what will work the best for all. So it is like trying to do something for greater common good.
Common good, yeah. Because the answers will be more selfish kind of outcomes.
Everyone will think from their own perspective, and it's not their fault as well.
Yeah, actually. Okay, so we'll move to another question. So when you begin working on a project, how do different forces like regulations, institutions, and design thinking interact in shaping decisions?
So I think there are two ways to think about it. One is that a lot of times you think that the regulations or the DCRs are given, okay, and you have to work within that framework. But as planners, we need to go beyond. As planners, actually, as planner, you are the one who is shaping the regulations, and therefore you are not limited to just following regulations. You are actually supposed to think about regulations, how to improve them, how to rewrite them. Also, you are supposed to look at the acts and say, how do you really improve the act? Is there a need to improve the act? And that's something that we keep doing all the time. So that's how, if you see, the planning that has been happening in Gujarat, it has been successful because over the time we have been improving our regulations, we have been improving our acts. we've been improving our policies. So it is all about really improving things first. The framework itself needs to be improved, and then it is about improving the solutions that are derived based on that framework.
And I would like to highlight that are we solving the past mistakes, or we are somewhere considering the future things?
So I would not even call them mistakes. Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone, whatever has happened in the past, that is the solution that they arrived at, given the context at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in today's context, there may be some corrections needed. Okay. So I would not call that a mistake. But yes, definitely improvement can be done. And that's how we have to think about that. How do we keep improving? Yeah.
So moving towards the next question. So in your experience, what tends to influence outcomes more, planning intent or the systems within which a planning operates?
Planning intent or the system within which planning operates? I think again the answer is both. Because planning intent has to be correct. Okay. You have to have the right intent. But at the same time, you also have to be careful about the system within which you are working. You can have great intent. It's like, I don't know if you have read this book called Fountainhead, and Howard Roark was one of the characters, and he would be rebellious because he thinks that his intent is the right intent, and for that then he can go to any extent. He can even bomb a building. Okay. Now, I don't think that is the approach that we should take. So intent has to be right. At the same time, you also have to work within the system. If necessary, improve the system. But you cannot just keep saying that if the intent is right, everything that we do behind that intent, anything can be done behind that intent. So you will have to work within the framework.
So the next question is, how do you think cities can navigate the tension between preserving identity and accommodating growth?
That's a very important question, actually, specifically nowadays for Indian cities. Because so far in India, we have been actually focusing primarily on the horizontal expansion of the cities, greenfield development. And we have not really paid much attention to the existing cities. And all of our cities, unlike the American cities or the Australian cities, all of our cities have started from this original historic core. All that historic core have been at least 100, 150 years old. So they are all historic. And because of the neglect, some of those cores have been dilapidated. The infrastructure has been crumbling. So we definitely need to focus on the existing urban cores and say that what are the things that we would like to conserve and preserve. So we have to identify that. And what are the things that we would like to change or improve or enhance. And unless we identify these things separately, and this is where you have to go into the micro level and say that these are the buildings, these are the precincts that we would like to preserve, conserve. These are the things which are not coherent with our character and they can be changed. And that is where a new planning approach is required. That planning approach has not been taken so far. So we have to really think about a new planning approach and say that, okay, these are the things we conserve and preserve, but then again, people are living there. Okay. So we have to give a solution where actually it is incentive based, where people actually feel like taking that solution. And it is not forceful that you must conserve, you must preserve. Because they are living there and it's very difficult for them to actually go away and conserve. So there has to be an incentive-based system.
So according to you, what matters more? How efficiently a city functions or how people experience and relate to it?
I think both. Because functions is very important. But at the same time, how people feel about it is also very important. And just functional city would end up being a very dry in a way, or if you understand functionalism in architecture, it really focused primarily on being true to the material and true to the function. Okay, and what that really did was it created a kind of architecture that a lot of people didn't enjoy. Okay, because it is only functional. With that, with function, if you start putting the emotions together and the imageability together, then that is where the cities will become alive. And therefore, understanding how people feel about things and then molding your spaces accordingly is very important.
So moving to the next question. How do you see the relationship between global planning ideas and local realities in Indian cities? Do you think planners here are too obsessed with global models instead of understanding these local realities?
That's interesting. Actually, I feel the reverse. We are people here, if you try and bring any solution from abroad, immediately they will point out and say, India is different. It will not work in India. ये तो बाहर का है. Okay. So, I don't think here people are ready to take something from outside as is and immediately copying. Okay. Now, at the same time, they would definitely love to, when they go and visit abroad, they would love the cities the way they are functioning there, and they would say, why can't we have that here? Okay. So there are some things that they wish to have here, and some of the things where I feel we are probably blindly copying things are the systems like highways. Okay. Highways. You know, because a lot of us, we go abroad to the cities of US or some of these developed countries, and that's where they have developed this system of expressways, highways, cutting through the cities, making the cities very car oriented. Okay, and that's where if we also start making our cities very car oriented, our cities are as is quite dense. Okay, and making more space for just cars is going to be very difficult for our cities. In fact, that's where we have to rethink and say that what is suitable for our cities, and maybe we can do more things like improving walkability, improving public transport, improving non-motorized transport, IPTs, etc., etc. And then there may be also some other kind of solutions, innovative Indian solutions that we can think about.
Also, I would like to add that question that like we as a students are always advised to look at the global cities model.
Yes.
Like why are they obsessing us to look at those models? Because in ground realities, people are not adapting it.
That's interesting. Yeah. See, we have to look at everything. But at the same time, then we have to say what is right for us. Because it's about, you know, when you look at the other things, then you can say, okay, these are the good things that we can adopt, and these are not the things for us. Okay, so it's evaluating the models is very important. If you just keep turning blind eye towards the world outside, that's not going to work. So you have to look at the cities outside and then say that what are they doing right and what are they doing wrong. Okay. You know, the reason why also you study history, for example, is not just to say that, oh, history was great. Also, in history, in past, people have made mistakes. So we also learn from the mistakes. Okay. The same approach when you look at the cities abroad. Okay. Yeah.
Adding to that part, that like you have worked for so many like countries in like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Washington. So do you find anywhere some, like it's a vague question, but do you find anywhere somewhere people like looking at the models like concept working of planning approach somewhere in India and they're copying there, like taking an example for a good benchmark there? Are they using that?
You mean they are copying from somewhere?
From our Indian cities.
Like no, see, one thing that I found was that, you know, all cities are learning constantly from one another, and also they are learning from their own mistakes. Yeah. So at one point, you know, when the cars were invented or cars came, the American cities, they started changing their configuration to accommodate cars, and this is where the cities expanded in such a way that they started developing this car-oriented suburbs. Okay. Then at one point they realized that this approach is not really helping us. This approach is kind of disconnecting us from one another. And therefore, there were also this newer movements called new urbanism, transit-oriented development. These kind of things where they started saying that, oh, we have probably gone wrong somewhere. Let's now start improving our cities so that they can be more pedestrian friendly. They can be more transit oriented, where we can live, work, shop, eat all together within 10 minutes distance. Okay, so they are also improving, and that's what we should also be doing with our cities. We need to figure out where our city is going wrong, and we need to improve them. And there are so many places where our cities are going wrong. We all know, right?
Yeah.
So we need to improve. Also, I would add that unfortunately, a lot of times, some of the planners, they think whatever we have is great.
Great, yeah.
Okay, or there can be no other solution. Now, I don't think that is the way to think about it. There's always scope for improvement.
Yeah.
And we have to constantly keep improving.
We're moving toward perfection.
It's always pursuit of perfection. You will never be perfect. If you be perfect, then you're done.
One of your life instances where you have been to some of the cities, like taking an original plan for a pitch, and you have faced a lot of criticism from politicians or somewhere. Any of your life experiences which you want to show, not taking the city names or the authority and power people, you can share that as an for our learners.
I'll just give an example of one of the cases in the US, for example. So in Chicago, we are planning for this whole region. Okay, and now I think you must have heard the term NIMBY.
NIMBY, yeah, not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is not only in India. Everywhere there is NIMBY.
NIMBY, yeah.
Okay, so there are these communities which are affluent communities. They love their cars. They love their big plots, large lot housing. Per acre lots, so one house per acre. So they are like large lots. And we, from planning perspective, we were saying that we need to provide public transport in this area. These guys are saying no. Okay, we don't want any public transport, and we started asking why. They are saying no, public transport means we will have more crime rate. So you are asking why do you think there will be more crime rate? So then they didn't want to name exactly what they were thinking, but essentially what they were thinking was that there are these people of other color will come, and because they are lower income group people, they will use public transport, and they will come into our communities, and our communities makeup, the racial makeup will change. Okay. So they didn't want people of other color into their community. And these kind of situations arise all the time. So now this is where you have to figure out various strategies, various approaches. And one is about creating awareness, but a lot of times it's about also going beyond creating awareness. In some ways, you have to start influencing through your policies, through your incentives, carrot and stick approach, and say that these are the right things to do. I'm not really getting into the weeds of it, but there are various ways in which it can be done. And now this is where sometimes political influence can be a way to do right things.
So, are there aspects of planning practice that you think students only fully understand once they enter the field?
Yeah. I think, see, the 2 years of planning education is 2 years are very short. Okay. And in fact, so it's the 2 years that you are here, you are only building a foundation. Okay. Foundation is not just first 6 months. Foundation is 2 years. And then once you go out, then you keep building on that foundation, and you keep choosing your own path. Okay, so I say I'm learning even today. I think constantly we are learning.
Yeah.
And because things are constantly changing, there are so many things that are coming which are completely new. Okay, so every time you have to learn, you have to integrate, and then maybe after a point that will also get old, and you have to learn some new things. So even at our age now, we have to learn. Of course, AI is coming. तो AI सीखना पड़ेगा और कुछ आएगा वो सीखना पड़ेगा तो constant learning तो होता रहेगा. The point is ultimately the goal is to improve our cities. कैसा भी कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी आए कोई भी आए कुछ भी new ways you will have to integrate all that. Yeah.
Any of the planning approach what you think ki what we are learning right now in our studios, but you feel that that is not like a part of the learning what in ground realities which is happening. Any of the point you would like to?
No, so I think one of the things that we at CEPT we are trying to do is we are not trying to teach theory. Okay, most of our education is actually grounded in the reality. Okay, so that's what we try to bring. Okay, and therefore all the time we keep calling professionals from outside. The visiting faculties who are working outside, they come and teach. So there's a lot of integration of what is really happening outside and what we are learning inside. There's a lot of integration there. I don't know if I'm answering your question or was your question slightly different?
No, a little more towards like what people analyze in a different way. What like we are very used to learn about the theories which are on paper. We are sometimes preferring that also in our research part. But how much are they actually executable on ground? And what you think like as a planner that these are all on theory based, in ground realities it is something else. There are a lot of political interventions and all things are involved. What we are not thinking right now.
So see, I don't think there is planning में just theoretical solution वैसा कुछ नहीं है. Planning is has to be pragmatic, has to be implementable. But at the same time, one solution that you propose may not be acceptable by one political viewpoint or the other political viewpoint. So then there will be political influences that would come in. And वो होता है आपने डीपी आप जो डीपी कर रहे हो तो डीपी में आपने बोला कि ये एरिया जोन कर दो R1 zone या R2 zone या R3 zone. And then there are other people who would think नहीं ये एरिया नहीं वो एरिया करना चाहिए. Okay, there will be political influences. And now this is where the key point is that how strongly are you able to convince with your logic that this is how it should be. Okay, so you as planner will have to put all your reasoning and with all the clarity that you need, you have to put it out there and you have to try and convince everyone. And this is where actually the stakeholder engagement is very important, the community engagement is very important. If you are able to convince the overall community, then the individual political influences might be less. Okay, so I think one of the strategies that a lot of advocacy organizations they end up doing कि अगर आपको सिटी को वॉकेबल बनाना है, सिटी में फुटपाथ डालना है, there are a lot of people, lot of engineers, they would say, no, we have to prioritize cars. रोड में कार्स ही होना चाहिए, साइडवॉक जो है छोटा कर दो, निकाल दो, ये वो. These organizations have run successfully, they have run the campaigns to convince people that we need footpath. And once the people say we need footpath, the politicians will also have to agree to that. Okay, so there has to be a bottom-up approach. That if everyone is convinced, then they will not be able to change that. The political influences will be reduced. So that should be an approach. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So with this, we'd move towards the question answer session from the audience part.
We've often been taught about the process of how a planner should plan, and obviously we're still learning, but then things like stakeholder consultation comes up, and so I still don't understand where a planner must draw the line between a liberal plan and an authoritarian plan. because I always feel that even if I do all the stakeholder consultations, I will always have something, like I will always gain something new as I'm planning the process. So like you said about the perfect plan, it's always like it has to be keep on evolving.
Yes.
So where do I draw the line between a authoritarian plan and a liberal plan?
Yeah. So I think first of all, I don't think we should ever have an authoritarian plan. Okay. So it's always about listening to people, talking to them, understanding their needs, requirements, etc. And then ultimately, though, that you will have to prepare a plan, which means that you have to make some decisions, and those decisions should be in such a way that they can maximize the benefits for maximum number of people. Okay, you should not have solutions which will help only a certain group, or which will help only a smaller group of people. So now this is where being more inclusive helps. I don't think you will ever make everyone happy.
Right.
That is impossible. So आप कुछ सिटी में करोगे तो किसी न किसी को शायद कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम रहेगा, कंप्लेन रहेगा. But at the same time, the idea is to maximize the benefits for maximum number of people.
Okay.
Also, this reminds me, one of our commissioners, some people were complaining to him, saying that हमारे ओल्ड सिटी में ये प्रॉब्लम है, वो प्रॉब्लम है. He started saying, देखो, anything that I do, even I move one thing from here to there, someone or the other will come and complain to me. Okay, so I have to think about the entire city and say that what is good for the city, what is right for the city. It may, for some time being, may bother some people. Okay, but it's just for time being. Maybe all of us will need to learn to adjust for some time, but then if it is for greater good, for long-term good, should be fine.
So a follow-up question to that. So wouldn't that also mean that the minority who are against what you're trying to do, they will always be left out? So
very, very good question.
Like, how do I don't intend to make them feel left out, but then certain things that I have to do will make them feel left out. So is that something I'll have to live with, or
no? So I think that they are the first ones that you have to be careful about, because see, they are the ones who need you.
Right.
Okay. So first you have to think about all the people who are more vulnerable, and you have to think about all the solutions that will help them first. If you are talking about any project, but then often the projects are done in such a way that it may create more issues for vulnerable population, and that is something that we absolutely have to avoid. So now this is where we have to think about कि भाई कैसे करें उसको. You have to be very, 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 very careful on that. But I think that's a broader answer. There is, of course, case by case situations.
Right.
And that's where, if at all, you have to, you must intervene, you must do something, then again you have to think about how do we maximize the benefits for them.
Okay.
So, sir, I have a bit specific questions to TP schemes. So, when we analyze the TP schemes, they are more structured in terms of a ripple effect from the core city area. So, one gets built and then the adjacent of the TP scheme gets built. Rather, I would say now the cities are facing polycentric approach that some of the patch will be developing. So, why not we focus on developing those TP scheme first, where a kind of a priority based structure is identified, where TP gets involved in terms of those polycentric development. It kind of caters to it, and so the integration of core city to polycenter can be done on the larger when the horizon year is achieved. So do we really need to take a look at those things also in TP schemes?
Yeah, no. So see, principally there are I think we need to understand few things that, city generally when it grows, one is that TP scheme is not the only way or the horizontal growth is not the only way we should think about it, right? So there are also the areas within the city where the growth can be accommodated. So there is also one is infill development or redevelopment, more intense development, etc. So that is also one solution that we have to think about. Now, when it comes to the expansion of the city, one way to think about it is that any city should grow in a contiguous manner and not in a leapfrog manner. That's the typical terms that are used. Contiguous versus leapfrog. Now, what is considered as downside of the leapfrog development is that if you have just kind of one development here, the other development here, third development here, and then it becomes very difficult for the authorities to provide connectivity to this, small developments here and there, or provide the infrastructure here and there. And also from environmental perspective, it may put more stress, because then you are traveling longer to go to this kind of, one colony here or one settlement here, this other settlement here. You're traveling more distances every day. Also, then because they are small developments, you may not have water treatment plant. You may not have sewage treatment plant, which means you are just extracting water from ground, or you are just leaving the water untreated. Now, those are the kind of issues that might be created if they are kind of small developments here and there. I'm purposely not using the term, I would call, even though they are called leapfrog development, I would just call them the developments which are more sparse. Okay. Now, the other model that you are talking about is polycentric. Okay, which has been actually already happening. So you have one city and one city is growing, but at the same time, then there are these other centers around the city. They are also growing. And if you see Ahmedabad itself is growing, but then you also have other satellites, Sanand, Ahmedabad, Kalol. These are also growing, and they also have their own TP schemes. So they are also growing through their own TP schemes. Kalol may be TP schemes hai, Sanand may be TP schemes hai. Okay, so that's how it needs to be planned. You need to have clusters. You have to have planned growth, and that planned growth should be developed through. In Gujarat, it is through TP schemes. In some other places, it's called land pooling schemes, or some other names. But ultimately, it has to be planned. Polycentric way karo ya single centric way karo, jo bhi karo.
But many a times it happens that a central-led infrastructure development will be coming. So it is and given that the development will come on those points, and many a times it will happen so that those infrastructure or the central-led infrastructure projects will have very much distance from the city core. So that's why I guess the leapfrogging or the sparse development will be happening. So how come we can cater to those things also?
So see the sparse development or the far out developments may be happening also for many other reasons. Okay, because someone has land somewhere and they think that okay, mera zameen hai, main develop karunga. And also because it is further out, it's slightly cheaper to buy land. Okay, so then they will develop there. Now, one key question that we always need to ask is that if the same number of people, instead of living there, if they were given a choice to live somewhere else, will they be more attracted to these other places? Okay. Here the primary driver is the affordability. That's why people are going there. If you can make affordable places available closer to one of the existing centers, it may be the prime city or it may be one of the satellite cities, but the same choice is given at a better place, where will they move? Okay.
a better place. Yeah.
So this is how we'll have to think. There, how are we planning is about actually not forcing people, but having the right choices at right places.
Yeah.
Okay, and giving them the choices, of course, but at the right places. Please.
So I'm part of Ahmedabad DP studio. So while doing our SIO analysis, one major issue we found in Ahmedabad is low percentage of PT users. So even though the facilities are given, people are not utilizing it. So as you said about choices, it is about people's choices. But as a planner, even though when we are providing them the facilities and they're not using it, then what can we do more so that it can be utilized and people can be given more?
Very interesting question. Now this is where also sometimes we need to think. See, people are not using the public transport, for example, as you're saying. Now, why are they not using the public transport? Because they find the other modes more convenient and cheaper.
Yes.
Okay. Now, these other modes that they are using, are they really cheaper? Okay. Yes, they are cheaper for them. But actually, if you see the overall cost that is incurred by the city, total cost is probably more if you use a car. You are only paying for the car. Who is paying for the road? Who is paying for parking on the road? Or who is paying for all the pollution that the car is creating? Okay. And so now we have to compare apple to apple and not apple to oranges. Okay. And it is called internalizing the external costs. So these are all external costs that is not counted in the cost of travel as of now. So if you internalize all those external costs and then compare, then you will find that public transport is cheaper. Okay. Now then, that means that there are strategies, planning strategies that can help you to internalize the external costs. So for example, congestion charging. Okay. Or low emission vehicle, low emission zones, right? So essentially what are they doing? They are charging for the emission that you are creating. It is internalizing the external costs, and that creates the true cost. So once you start charging the true prices, true cost of travel, then people will shift, because then they will find the other modes cheaper. Okay. So currently we have not created the choices in the right way, and slowly we will have to get there. I don't think people will immediately accept that. So it's a process. Yeah.
If Jignesh Mehta wants to be a politician for a city and he wants to implement some any special rules for the city, or if you want to bring any governance restructuring or in a bylaw restructuring, which city would you choose in India, and why would you choose to be a electoral or in a bureaucratic way?
I don't think I will ever want to be a politician. It's a very tough job. And also I don't think it is about choosing a city, frankly speaking. So it's about any city that you go to, you have to get into the weeds. You have to understand the people and work with them. So I've been working in places like Guwahati, I've been working in places like Bangalore, Kochi, Bhopal, of course Gujarat, Ahmedabad, and also cities, as I said, Chicago and San Francisco and LA and all those places. And ultimately, you have to work with people. Without working with people, you cannot change things. So that means that you have to have workshops, you have to have conversations, and then first thing that you will have to do is what is acceptable for them. Okay, we are working in old city. Now old city में अगर आपको कुछ भी करना है, सबसे पहले people will say no, we don't want to do this. For example, we are improving a street, and the people are saying please don't do anything here, and will not let you do it. Then we started meeting with them. We said, why? They are saying every time you guys meaning the city comes and does something, the level of the street goes up by 6 inches. And then our otlas, they are impacted. The water goes into our basements. So we said, okay, we will improve the street, but we will not raise the level. In fact, we will take the level down. Now, of course, what that means is that when you have to really dig up the underground infrastructure, all the manhole covers will have to be leveled down, all the chokdis will have to be taken down. You will have to increase one step in front of every house, and then all the light poles and other things, सबका level नीचे लेना पड़ेगा. So all those things will have to be done. Also, that means that more cost, which means that you will have to convince the people who are financing or funding. There is an extra step that you have to go to, but you have to understand where people are coming from, and then if they are right, you have to incorporate that. So I don't know whether you call it being a politician or a planner or a designer, but you have to do it. You have to be it all. Yeah. Okay.
Closing statement.